30% of employees in the country have reported a lower income in the last year, while 50% of the same demographic have reported no addition in their income within the same period. This is according to the ICEA Lion Asset Management report, which further reveals that despite Kenyans spending more, retail business across the country are fluctuating or flatlining. And as Hibak Said reports, spendings for the average Kenyan rose not due to a change in consumer habits, but rather from higher prices of popular products. Take a look.
The average Kenyan spends between 200 to 400 shillings per day in food alone, while the average household allocates roughly a third of their income to food alone. This has had a drastic effect on the saving culture in the country, with the number of Kenyans able to save money to sustain them beyond 6 months dropping from 23% to 17% within a year.
52% of respondents across the industries said that there was no change in their income, and 31% said there was a decrease in their income, and only 17% recorded an increase in their income. Across the sectors, the manufacturing and trade sector had 29% of the respondents reporting that they had an increase in their income levels, with a shrinkage noted a lot, highest in the sectors of wholesale and retail trade.
As a way of cutting back, people actually cut out the non-essential spending. So that's their way of dealing with the increased prices. As we had seen earlier, the increased expenditure is actually more of a result of the increased prices rather than the increase of income.
A report by ICEA Lion has blared the alarm over the rising cost of living, with the consumer spending index rising by 5.5% in the second quarter of the year, having a negative effect on the retail business in the country. On the flip side, about 25% of employees reported an increase or a decrease in income. However, this barely reflected on the muted activity in the retail business. Respondents working in the manufacturing and education sectors had the highest proportions of improved incomes, while those in trade, transport and logistics sectors had the largest proportion of reduced incomes. The rise in spending was largely attributed to a higher cost of items purchased. In terms of socioeconomic categories, the lower middle income segment recorded the strongest improvement in spending trends in the second quarter, while the lower income segment had the biggest decline in spending trends.
Consumption based on earned income or based on credit, I think we find that it's pretty encouraging and also surprising. It was another surprising finding from our survey that almost 90% of spending in Kenya is actually from earned income as opposed to credit. That's another finding that belied the common perception that Kenyans are mainly funding their lifestyles through credit. And I think that's a good thing to have a country where people are not over-leveraged. I mean, we find that Kenya's credit to GDP ratio is still very low, in the range of 40%.
87% of Kenyans made purchases using their own income, while 13% relied on credit. For businesses, an improvement in sales trends in large and medium-sized businesses during the second quarter was offset by a decline in sales trends in small and micro businesses. In terms of business sectors, the clothing, retail, shopping, and food and beverage sectors saw an improvement in sales trends in the second quarter, but this was offset by a plummeting of sales trends in the house fittings and accessories sectors. Hibak Said for TV 47.